I found myself a moment of peace in the shed. I've hidden up this end of the garden, and in amongst the heat I've been considering about tutors and what our role is, and I've been reading a book called Trust the Process, and it's been talking about that the process of creation, when it becomes a struggle, is a struggle you have to work through, and it can't be taught through, or there's nothing concrete. But sometimes I feel that what would be nice to share is the struggle, but also some concrete life jackets that we can hang on to, really. So having been working on massive scale recently, I've decided to turn my attention to teeny tiny scale. So I've created some little sketchbooks. I store masses and masses of scraplings of paper, wrapping paper, paper that comes on packaging, paper that comes through the door. So I've always got a stash to go from. But what I wanted to show was how I've got made these little signatures. So if you wanted to have a go at any point, you could join in. So I've got a scrapling of paper here. It looks like an old envelope. First of all, I fold it in half and fold it the opposite half, and then I'm going to fold it half this way because I like that shape as a page. If I open it out again, you'll see I've got 8 units. Cutting from the fold line towards the edges, I cut down one of my fold lines just to that centre point, and then you end up with a piece that looks like this. Folding it so you've got your little duck, pushing it together, it will, depending on the quality of paper, pop over. When you close the front round, using a bit of an edge to seal it down, you will have created a little book, which is great fun for using with small people because it involves no stapling, no gluing, no worrying about binding it. But if you then want to create a series, you can get yourself another piece of paper. So I'm going to get some of that brown wrapping paper. Same thing. Not very exact. I'm sure there's people out there who are having palpitations at the moment about the lack of rulers and the lack of measuring. This is how I work. I'll fold it half that way this time. Doesn't really matter on the order in which you do it. I am looking to... do I want some longer pages? Interesting to see what happens if I include some longer pages. Again, there's the duck. Fold it. Different quality of paper needs a bit more rigidity. Folding it down. Turn it over again. And now I've created another book that has very long pages, and I can keep building these up, different dimensions. If you don't like it, just take the edges off. You might be the sort of person who likes things symmetrical. There's another scrappling paper I've got in here. Let's go for end of wrapping paper. I prefer the turquoise. I'm going to have the turquoise as my outside. Forming it into those 8s. Opening it out again. Like this one. I'm going to cut down the centre. Then I've got my frog's mouth. Push together. Comes over. Hopefully this is all showing on the camera because I'm this side for a change and I can't check that way around. So I've now created 3 signatures. In actual fact, I think I might trim that one down a little bit just to make it a little more uniform, and then you can decide on the order in which you want them. Then if you want to turn these into signatures for a book, a useful thing to do is to mark where you are going to sew them. Yes, bookbinders amongst you out there are now having complete stresses at the lack of calculating and ruling and whether I've got the right number. That will give me some markers, which I can use my pointy thing. Probably got a technical tool. I'm going to open these and put the pointy thing all the way through all the layers at the black spots. Then all the way through, because these are going to be my sewing guides. Now, if truth be told, I have completely forgotten how to sew the binding that I learned a very short while ago, and I could be sensible and go back and read a booklet or YouTube it, but I'm going to do the usual, make it up as I go along. Put a little bit of a knot in there. This is just crochet cotton using a long, I think it must have originally been a darning needle, but something that I found in a stash that I was given. I'm going to get my booklets back together, my signatures I should say back together, and I'm going to be starting from the white. So I'm going to find my way through the white at the top, drawing it in, and then I think I'm going to go down through the white section and come up at the end. Because if I then add the next signature, what I don't want is the mistake I made on this one, which is this running line across the end, which I don't really like. If I go into this signature here, holding them closely together, I can then come out at the centre. When I come out at the centre, I'm going to catch this stitch through, and that will pull it together, so I can then go back down through the centre and coming out at the other end. There are so many different bindings, so many different ways of combining signatures. They are an art form in and of themselves. I am still learning, but what I'm focusing on today is how I can very quickly create a miniature sketchbook. I wonder if I go through that one, what will happen. So I can very quickly take to work on some of those finer details of my archive textiles. I'll bring it down through this one again. I can see there are a number of errors. I suppose you could call them errors if you were wanting to be traditional. But for me, so as long as it serves its purpose and it fits together, I am going to have to devise some kind of way. Coming back up through there. Oops, lost the end. So that I can fix it closed. And if you are worried about how it looks, I suppose, then there's some really clever people out there who can show you how this all works, so that you can measure it up and be mathematical and have it look beautiful. But that to me is holding itself together. Bring it round at the centre there, creating a little knot to finish. Again, this is a made it up in the shed as you go along knot, for which I will be flayed. By members of my family. So there we have a miniature sketchbook, this one of 3 signatures, creating a variety of pages that I can now go and play with.